Yes! Right. Is that all right? You all right with that? Welcome to today's podcast. Green Sunrise podcast was meant for you and me. Hold on, I'm looking at the different cameras here. Podcast was sent here. It was sent here from God, wasn't it, Susie? It's got our goddess. It was sent here for God to collaborate with people who may be in a dark space and who are struggling with life, depression, anxiety, suicide prevention. There's a lot of stuff that we've been covering over the podcast, and we are going to interview a new guy today. But we've also got a new co-host. Our new co-host, his name is Nadia, or AKA Mad Nat. How you doing? Is that right, Mad Nad?
Thank you, Mad Nad.
Was it Mad Nads? Is that all right? How are you?
Good, thank you.
Welcome to today, by the way. Welcome for coming on. You're very last minute again.
Yeah.
We love our last minute stuff, don't we, Susie?
Yeah. Just winging it. That's life every day.
Yeah. That's exactly it. So, and also joining us is our producer, Susie, which is in the background. You might hear her because she's like a wee mouse sometimes. So you might hear wee Susie in the background. Be a big laugh. So that's us. Our guest this week, and I'm looking straight at him. Our guest this week is Sanjeev Mann, aka Supermann On Da Beat. Promoter, journalist, event organiser, content creator, disability activist, and all-round badass. Welcome, Sanjeev. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Glad to be here, man.
That's good to have you, mate.
Glad we got organised in the end, man.
Yeah, it was good. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was good. So, welcome to the Green Sunrise podcast, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me,
I've been looking forward to this, as I do for every single episode, but this one especially. Sanjeev has been nominated and shortlisted for the Disability Power 100. The most influential disabled people in the UK, for your work in changing how we perceive disability in the music industry and pushing for more access.
Yeah.
When did that come for? Where's this come from? You quite good with that? You happy with this nomination?
I was really buzzing with that. So the Shaw 100th list that I think it was like a couple of months ago, and I don't even know who nominated me actually. That's the funny thing. I don't know, but apparently I got quite a few nominations. So that's class. And then I think it's in November is the actual like awards,
right?
Where they like announce the top 100. They have like different categories and stuff like that as well. It's down in London as well.
So excellent. So down in London, baby, that'll be brilliant. That'll be excellent. So when's that for?
I think it's November.
November.
I think it's a while away. It's November. So.
November's a great month. That's when I was born. So
Same,
I was born November. Are you November as well?
The 8th one.
Wow! Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm 10th. I'm the 10th. My boy's the 18th. So there you go. We've got November people in here. That's good. I like that. So today we're going to talk about your diagnosis, or about your childhood when you were diagnosed at the age of 6 with DMD, Duchenne muscular dystrophy. DMD is a genetic muscle wasting disorder, which is a progressive disorder as well.
Yeah.
Now, research on the disorder has been quite limited until the 80s. 1987, the protein associated with the gene was identified and named dystrophin. Lack of dystrophin protein in muscle cells.
Yeah.
Can you explain a wee bit?
So basically, it's like it's not. A lot of people get confused and think it's like motor neuron disease, where it's like the neurons and the nerves, but it's not. Like for me. Like I've got full sensation, but it's just like a muscular thing.
Right.
So our muscles don't produce that protein.
Right.
It's like a genetic thing. But yeah, I used to be able to walk until I was about 8 and 9, and then like gradually started using like a wheelchair.
Right.
And it kind of gradually deteriorates, but it's good because like not that it's good, but it's good that. It kind of gives you time to get your head around it.
Yeah.
So like it's not like out of nowhere. It's like gradual. So yeah. But I always like to kind of raise awareness about it because it's quite rare. A lot of people don't really know about it. And I think the more we know about these things, then even just like disability, the more people know about disability, and even like not even disability, like different people and their different backgrounds.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
the more we learn from each other, I think that's how we grow like as a society. So.
Right. Okay. So again, when reading that, we talked about the lack of dystrophin protein in muscle cells. So it causes them to be fragile and easily damaged, right? Which you've kind of went over that, right?
Mm.
But what was that like, being told that or being diagnosed that? So would that have been in 2003? You were diagnosed, or was it
2002? So I was
2002?
6. I was born in '96. So
Right,
yeah,
okay.
2002. Yeah, like I feel like as a child, you don't really get what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You just know that it's gonna be different.
Mm-hmm.
You know that there's gonna be things you can't do that other people can't do,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's kind of like what it meant. Like as a kid, it wasn't like what the disability was,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more that I can't do what other people can do physically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like at school it was hard because like there was times where like there was like playing football
Mm-hmm.
and like I kind of felt a bit isolated,
Right.
because I felt like I wasn't really part of it. And that's kind of why community is really important to me now, because growing up I never really had that. But I was thankful to have like my mum and dad and my brother that are
Mhm.
really supportive. So I'm glad I had that. But yeah, that's why like community is just so important to me, and I don't want people to grow up not having that,
Yeah.
because I think it's like a basic human need is just to feel part of a community, part
Mhm.
of something. So
And
yeah.
and that was kind of lead on to my next question. The support, obviously, from your family was
Yeah.
obviously most important.
Yeah, so
But was there any
important.
support elsewhere
Aye.
at that time, 20 years ago? Was there quite a lot of support kind of about?
When I was diagnosed, not really. It's more just like my mum and dad. But then as you kind of get into teenage years, there's kind of more support. And like, yeah, it's interesting because I feel like people don't really tell you an awful lot. Like
Mhm.
even through the NHS and stuff like that.
Mhm.
A lot of time you kind of need to do your own kind of reading it and looking into things.
Yeah.
Was that
Um,
case of you get diagnosed and then you get sent on your way?
Kinda. Like I don't really like. My mum and dad would probably be able to talk about more about at the time what it was like. Because obviously, like I was 6, so I didn't really understand things.
Mhm.
But like, yeah, for me it was just like mum and dad were always really supportive, and my brother, and like, yeah, I think they're like probably the reason why I'm so like positive
Yeah.
in my mindset.
Yep.
Because they never treated me different to my brother,
Mhm.
who hasn't got a disability.
Right.
He's 7 years older, so they never like treated me any different, and that's what I'm trying to kind of show in society, like to have equity, so like people have the same expectations,
Okay.
because people don't have like, when it comes to people with disabilities, I feel like people naturally just like have really low expectations.
Mhm.
So even like, I don't know, going out, people are like, you're going out.
Yeah.
They're surprised by
Aye.
that, and like, it shouldn't be like that.
So, Nadia, what do you think? Is there anything?
I was just thinking about when you were talking about the way the community
Yeah.
and how it's a basic human need. And yeah, I'm just thinking about, I'd love to hear more about your activism work.
Yeah.
Because that is, you're so right. I completely
Yeah.
feel you there. Like, we need that community around us. We need people around us. We need the energy and support and love that you feel from solidarity with other people.
Yeah.
Is like, it's priceless. There's
Exactly.
nothing that can support us as human
No.
beings, I think, more than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd just love to hear more
Yeah.
about your activism.
Yeah, that's so true. I feel like nothing like, I feel like that's what I think sometimes is difficult, because sometimes I don't understand when we all want the same thing,
Mhm.
but why does it have to be so hard?
Yep.
Like, why do we need to fight against each other? Why do people need to, like, I don't know, like, why does it always need to be a battle?
Yeah.
Like, why can't we just work together? Like, it's not really that. I don't see it being that difficult. Like, we all want the same thing as
Yep.
humans, so why can't we work together? And that's exactly what I tried to do with my activism. So I really tried, like, bring people together, and also, like, think of solutions and keep the positive energy. because I think we mentioned just earlier on about sometimes like it can be really annoying when people just complain about stuff but don't have a solution, and like that's only inviting more negative energy. Like it's not helping anyone, so like it's always good to have a constructive like reason to make things better. Get what I mean? So but yeah, generally my activism is kind of raising awareness about disabled people, and kind of the experiences of disabled people.
So that would, in a sense, would have probably pushed you on to your feats that you've had. For example, so your masters in media and communication, that must have been really big at that time for you to do that. So, like, you've got a masters in media and communications with distinction and a degree in journalism. Now that's absolutely amazing. I mean, your question kind of relates to that, doesn't it? It's like where that all comes from.
So I'll kind of start in there. Because when I was at school, like, I was thinking what I wanted to do, and I thought journalism was like something that I was really interested in. So then that's what I did at uni. And it's funny because it's all sort of like everything I've done is like, looking back, I'm glad I did everything because it all linked into each other. So at that time I did journalism, and I did like freelance for like different newspapers and like the BBC Social. Right. A lot of stuff for them. Yeah. And I think that's where the kind of activism came from, because the content I was doing for them was like raising awareness, and it was doing really well. Yeah. Again, people are starting to know who I am through it. So then that's kind of where that came from. And same with like the music actually just came from lockdown. Yeah. So that's fairly recent.
So I was going to ask that, sorry. So what was it like then at high school and university? We obviously your disability and the progression of that.
High school wasn't the best. It was a good school, and like people were helpful, but I never really felt like I had like a friends group. If that makes like, I didn't really have like a friends group, and I wasn't really like part of it. I wasn't really part of the community. Like I didn't really see people from school outside of school, and stuff like that. So it was difficult. Like, it was really difficult just not like seeing other people like going out when they're like 16, 17, and I wasn't really able to, because I didn't have the support and like, that. So it was hard. But I think uni is when I really started to come out my shell. Right. Because I feel like I was a completely different person. From when I left school to now. And I've just learned a lot. And had like, I suppose like I've had to grow up quite quick. Yep. Get what I mean? And I feel like that's why, like, even though I'm 27, I feel like I've been around. Yep. a lot longer. So I think my experiences kind of got me to this point. Okay. But I think it's interesting also to say that like painful experiences is what's got me here. Yep. That's how we grow. Like it wasn't happy experiences that got me to this point of like being so positive and trying to make a change. Right. It all came from that, if that makes sense. Yeah, no, it does. It certainly does. Certainly does.
Can I ask you about, you were talking about the difference between high school and uni and how things got so much better when you went to uni. Yeah. What was it like in high school in terms of support? And then in comparison, at uni, was there a lot more support there? Was there more understanding and awareness? Or was there, how was the support system?
Yeah, so school, like, so when it was at school, the help I had, like, I was like the classroom assistants, and they would like help me with things, like getting around school, toileting and eating and all that stuff. And then when I went to uni, it was like my PAs, and I was using like a care company. So I feel like that made it a bit better because, like, for example, for school, it was like I got a taxi to school, right, and then they would help me at school. Then I'd get a taxi back, so I wasn't really able to do things after school and stuff like that, so I didn't have the support. Right. Whereas when I was in uni, I had PAs on like the agency, so I could like drive to uni, go to uni and then like do something after uni, come back. Like it gave me so much more freedom to just live my life and do things that people my age would do.
Yeah.
So I could just go out whenever and like, yeah, I feel like that was the main difference. Also, yeah, like uni, I suppose they've got like a part of the uni that focuses on people that need extra help and stuff like that. So they're really helpful in terms of organising stuff and making things accessible.
And that was what me and you were speaking about that as well. We were talking about the gap in the services, and sometimes that can let you down. Yeah. So, what would you think would make it better? Which is a big question.
And in terms of
you getting the access or getting support for people like that can help you. Yeah. So from school you didn't have the support, but when it changed when you got to uni.
I would say like try to give disabled people more independence and like the care that they need earlier on. And actually make it more easily available and make it known to people.
Yeah.
So they know that that's there. Because a lot of people growing up, like, I didn't really know it was there. Get what I mean? Yeah. And I think funding should also be more easily available from the council.
Yeah. Yes,
for stuff like care, stuff like that. So, yeah. But that kind of goes nicely into just like the care situation at the moment. I don't know if a lot of people know, but like, is a big like issue in the care right now. There's just not enough like carers to people that need the help.
Yeah.
And just the turnaround's like really high. It's just a real big issue because I think like people underestimate how important care is just in society. Like I feel like it's not valued enough.
Yeah.
When if I didn't have care, like I wouldn't be able to come here. I wouldn't be able to put on the shows that I put on. Like I wouldn't be able to go to the studio. Like I wouldn't be able to do anything that I do. So, I think we really need to value just care and how important it actually is.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that leads back to your activism as well, right? So you're working hard to try and help promote the awareness and create these changes so that other people don't have to miss out on things that you missed out on and don't have to face the struggles that you struggled with. Can I ask you, do you feel, other than what you've already shared, do you feel that you missed out on any quintessential experiences due to the limitations?
You smash the word down there.
That was my word. Quintessential was my word down there.
It feels so fancy.
That was brilliant.
Let me think. Like I think as I said earlier, like the things I felt like I missed out on was just the whole high school experience.
Yeah.
So just things people do when they're in high school, like going out, going to parties, like drinking in the park.
Aye.
All that stuff, like typical Scottish stuff.
All the stuff
like,
that you shouldn't do. But
all that, all that, like all the things I had outside the school, I feel like I missed out on. It just wasn't like, because I needed help, and then obviously I didn't really want my mum and dad to like go do that with me. So I feel like that's what I kind of missed out on. But it's funny because I feel like everything I've experienced, missed out on, or been through, like I don't really see it as a bad thing. I just see it as like my path. Like I see it as just that's what needed to happen for me to be where I am now.
Yeah, like part of what shaped you to become who you are, so you can do the like what you feel is your purpose to do, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's like exactly what my purpose is. I feel like, and like I'm lucky to have found it because I know people like go their whole life without ever really finding their purpose. And mine just, I feel like it's to bring people together and just share experiences and like change how we think of disability.
Yeah.
And I think I did that through journalism. I do it through music. They're like my vessels, I feel like, to how I love my purpose. And that's,
So one of the questions that I would ask is having a degenerative disorder like you've got. It couldn't have been an easy thing to come to terms with. So obviously with you and your family, we've spoken about there's a lot of dark times, there's a lot of negativity that would obviously attach to that.
Yeah, I feel like at the time it was definitely like an unknown. I feel like of what my future would look like, like, because when I was like maybe third, fourth year, I always used to say to my mum and dad, I was like will I be able to have a job like everybody else? Will I be able to just do things like that? Like to work, to have a family and all that stuff. Like I used to wonder that when I was like a teenager, and it was like difficult not knowing. But then the more I grew up and the more confidence I built within myself, the more I kind of had more of a positive mentality. And also like, I kind of came to a stage where like kind of quite zen, like it's out of my control, like anything out of my control I'm like I've kind of let go of and just like surrendered to the fact that it's just the way it is. Like there's no point stress, like no point getting fixated on like the past, like or the future. Get what I mean? Like the only thing that's happened is right now, the moment that we're in. Exactly, man. So if you just focus on every moment, then
so that would be so internally and out. So within what you're listening in the world and the stuff that you're giving out, was it always like you would take some negativity that would come across your mind, and then would you be quick to be aware of that and change it?
Yeah, I've always kind of been like that. Like I've always changed, like or transformed my pain into something positive. And I feel like that's what's kind of led me to now. Yeah, like even when something goes wrong, like I'm quite, what's the word, like I'm quite calm because I just feel like, again, there's no point stressing. Like even little things. Get what I mean? So yeah, I think that's quite important.
I think that's so admirable. I think we can all be learning from you.
Yes. Oh, definitely, most definitely, and that's what it is. So a development worker for Pathfinders, Neuromuscular Alliance, a charity which aims to promote quality of life for people with DMD and similar conditions.
Yeah, so that was like the first job that I ever really done after uni. So that gave me a lot of confidence. And yeah, they kind of did events and stuff like that. So I helped with events and like social media. So that gave me a lot of confidence. That was like the first job that I ever really had. So that was cool. That was when I was at uni.
Can you tell us about some of the campaigns and the notable changes that have been made to the quality of lives of these campaigns that I've supported? So see the campaigns that I've been a part of, can you mention any of those? And
as in, like what?
So obviously it would be so one of the campaigns that you've obviously been part of, and have they changed other people's lives? In what way?
So the first campaign that I've kind of been in a few growing up, stuff like that, but the first one where I kind of started was I launched a petition last year to make venues more accessible in the UK. And yeah, like we didn't quite get the signatures. You need like 100,000 to get it to like a select committee in the government, but we didn't get the signatures. But I think like we got it in a lot of in the news, like it was in BBC, STV, and all the newspapers. So I think, like, to me, that's a win because people now know about it. The fact that they didn't know before, and like the changes are going to come straight away. Like, we need people to actually be aware, before we can make change. And I think it's also interesting that I think sometimes people get frustrated when people don't know. But I personally don't blame people for not knowing. No. Like, we've all got our own stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have, like, a lot of us don't have time to look into other things that don't affect us. And, like, I don't blame them because you're going to prioritise what affects you at the top. And that's just human to do that. Yeah. So, like, yeah, I don't blame people for not, like, knowing that venues are accessible. Because, like, why would you know? So getting it in the mainstream.
But like you said, you've made it. You've now made them aware.
Exactly. And that's the first step.
That's my first step.
Yeah, just the standard. If it doesn't touch your life, then you don't see it, right?
You don't see it, exactly.
That kind of leads on to my next question. With you having worked on various activism, equality and accessibility campaigns over the years, I'm sure some of this stuff, or most of it, if not all, has made a massive difference to so many lives. Do you get to see how your work actively impacts individuals as well?
Yeah, I would say like social media is a massive tool for me. I just technology as a whole. I think it's interesting how society like kind of demonizes social media, when for me it's been the biggest outlet for me to share my story.
That's really
and actually build a following, and like it's given me a voice that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise, because the internet is more accessible than 3D. Like the internet is so much more accessible than real life, and that's really where I do most of my work. Like that's where I do a lot of my activism. That's where I make music. It's all like technology based. And I feel like if I was alive like any other time period, I don't know if I'd be able to pursue like my purpose, which is really interesting. So like I kind of see it through social media, is where I see the most difference being made, with like comments and people like messaging me. I actually had a message last week which was just insane. Like I was mind blown. So is this somebody with a similar condition to me, and they messaged me just saying that how they never thought it was possible until they saw my story, and then that inspired them to really like pursue what they wanted to do. So it's stuff like that. Like that's the whole point of what I do. Get what I mean? So like to have that response just means so much, because like everything I do is to inspire people like me that you can live a fulfilled life, and you can do what you want to do. So
that's awesome. So before we get to my next question, we'll go to a wee 2-minute break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to the Green Sunrise podcast. We're just going to jump straight back in. So I'd like to ask you about your music as an avid music fan. Music to soothe your soul, to cope with life, like most of us do. But your move towards creating music happened during lockdown. Can you tell us a bit about how that unfolded, please?
I'll give you like the condensed version, because it's quite long. But so like it was something that I was always into, and something I always wanted to try, but I never really thought I could do it, because like there wasn't really anybody to look up to musically. Even creatively, like I feel like a lot of people think creativity isn't accessible to a lot of people, but I think that's why I want to be so visible as an artist and producer, because I want that me to be like, I want to do that, but I didn't have that. So it was something I always wanted to do, and then in lockdown I had loads of time, but I was shielded as well. So I couldn't go out of the house for like, it was a solid like 5-6 months. So I had loads of time, and I just tried it out. I tried the software, and it just sort of turned out I was good at it. Like I kind of had an ear for it, and it's also interesting that I don't have any like musical background, so I don't have any like, I never did it at school at all. So I think that's also a good point, is that you don't need to have a music background to make music, as daft as that sounds. But you need to start somewhere.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
And like I just learned through YouTube. Like that's where I learned how to make beats.
So just from YouTube, which is, I believe it's like the University of Life. You can learn anything there.
So true.
It's brilliant.
So I just learned on YouTube, and like I kind of said to myself, like when I realised I was good at it, and like I showed my family and my friends, and they were like, you should actually like try and do it. So that's when I said to myself, like that's when I said to myself, I'd make a beat a day. And if I always made a beat a day, I would progress. And that's exactly what happened. So I made in 4 years, I've easily made about 2,000 beats.
Wow.
Wow.
Just like one or two.
Who was your first like collaboration with an artist? Can you remember who the first person was that you ever done it with?
Yeah, the one that there's one that was released that I produced that was for a rapper called Kid Robotic.
Right.
And he actually really gave me a confidence. He was like the first, because obviously I didn't really know there's a scene here, like most people don't.
Mhm.
But there's like a really cool hip hop scene, just amazing artists in Scotland that people don't know about. So I kind of looked about, and he was the first one that I found. I just messaged him, and he was like, I sent beats, and he was like, they're good. And him saying that actually really gave me that confidence to actually then try and work with other people.
Yeah.
And try and like actually do it as like a career.
So that's almost like a springboard to doing it.
That was the big springboard for me. But yeah, because like I'm a producer mostly, and that's kind of where I started. But I wanted to be like an artist as well.
Yeah.
Because you know how I said about being visible.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I wanted, just to be visible for other people to see that they can do it too.
Yeah.
And then I started doing spoken word as well about a year ago.
The spoken word is what I'm going to ask you about as well. How easily did you find the spoken word? Was it quite good for transferring spoken word into like your own EPs and?
Yeah, I think like the writing came quite naturally because I wanted to find a way to like bring the activism into the music, and that's kind of what was the idea for when I started to do it. So writing came quite naturally because I feel like I've always got stuff to share. So writing came fine, and then like my project is really unique because it's a cross between like punk, hip hop, and spoken word. So it's like a really unique sound that I've not really heard anywhere. But like the spoken word through like a rock song pretty much. So like I wanted to do something like that and really lean on like all the influences growing up. And because musically, like I grew up with like metal, heavy metal and rock is kind of where I started. Right. Well, I was into I was kind of into just like pop music until I was about 12, and then that's when there's such an interesting like journey to how I got to hip hop. So I started, like Skrillex, Bangarang, do you remember that song? Yeah. So it was like dubstep. So I heard that, and that like opened my ears to like alternative music that wasn't like in the charts. Right. So that's the first time I heard something different. And then that's where it kind of led me into more alternative stuff like rock and metal. And then I got into hip hop through like Linkin Park. Wow. So I got into hip hop.
Linkin Park.
So I got into hip hop when I was about 16, through like metal and all that. So it was an interesting journey, but I've I tried to like combine genres, especially like grunge, like Nirvana, with like hip hop. So. Oh man, that's absolutely outstanding. That. Yeah. And you've got so much planned for the future as well, haven't you? When it comes to that. I've got I'm pretty much releasing every 2 weeks with artists. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Every 2 weeks with like different artists in Scotland.
When do you sleep?
Announce it. I don't know. I know that it's funny because I feel like I work a lot, but I actually love it. Like, I just love doing what I do. Aye. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you've had that question, people say, if you're a millionaire, would you still do it? Yep. If I was a millionaire, my life would change an awful lot. Like, I'm just doing what I love. Yeah. So, like, you do more of it. Aye, exactly. Aye, yeah. Exactly.
Wow, that's so, like the life goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's got that, and if you can find something like that,
thing that just makes you.
Then that means like when your work no longer becomes work, it's just something that you do, and it all just keeps you happy.
For me, it all just goes into one. Yeah. Like music, activism, and like my life. It's not separate. It's just all. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's just what I do.
I think that's so good and nourishing on a spiritual level as well, because you're being completely true to yourself.
And that was my next question actually. And well done you. You must have seen my cards. She must have sensed it. You've always been a spiritual person, but how important has that been in your life?
Yeah.
Up to now.
it's funny because like I'd say I always kind of thought about it, and it was always a part of me, but it never really came out until about a year ago. So I was always kind of like thought in that way, but I've really deeped it in the last year, where I really like been reading loads, meditating loads. Like I meditate like at the start. I feel like you kind of need to learn how to meditate.
Yeah.
But as soon as I did it like twice, I was like, yeah, this is me.
So do you do a lot of, is there anybody in particular, like Eckhart Tolle or anything like that, the Power of Now and stuff like that? Is it all?
Yeah, so like I meditate probably like an hour every night before I go to sleep.
Wow.
And like it just helps me decompress the day, and like I feel like the way society is, like a lot of the time people don't take things in. They don't like just stop to actually let things like sink.
Yeah.
And I think that's what meditation does for me. It really helps like bring me back to like my centre and my authentic self. Because I feel like if we stay authentic and like just do everything with love, we'll always be on the path we're meant to be on.
Yeah.
And the minute you don't, is like, it's funny because I kind of see it as like Wi-Fi. So like my idea of God has completely changed since I've been in.
Yeah.
Gotten into it. So like to me, God is just like everything around us, just everything. Like it's the universe, it's you, it's me. That's how I see God, and like that's what that idea has really helped me. It's really helped me like stay centered. What
would you say, or can I ask, was there a pinnacle moment where there was a shift change?
Yeah. Yeah, so I would say like it wasn't a year ago, but about 3-4 years ago.
Right.
I had like a near-death experience. So that's what really opened my eyes to it more.
Right.
Because I was like, when I was in hospital, and you know how like DMT is like released in your body when you're born and when you die. So that's what I saw. I saw like when people say the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, exactly. And I saw like,
was that the God particle?
That's what they call DMT. Aye. So it's like I saw everything, but nothing. It's really crazy to think of, but it's like I saw the whole universe from like I was observing the universe from the beginning in like a flash. It's crazy. And it's like I saw my whole life in like a flash, and like that really changed my perspective on what like life after death. I think that's one of the biggest parts of spirituality, because it's funny because I kind of take off different religions and faiths and kind of make my own thing.
Yeah.
So like I take different ideas and sort of go from there. And I think that's what's really cool about spirituality is like it's not like, it doesn't need to be strict. You can just make your own path. And I think that's what's really cool. So yeah, but going back to what you said about people that influence me, I would say Joe Ramdas. Don't know if you know Ramdas.
Joe Ramdas?
Just Ramdas.
Oh, Ramdas.
RAMDASS.
All right.
So he was a big influence. He was kind of like a spiritual kind of leader in the 70s and 80s.
Right. I'll need to look at
His meditation's so sick. Yeah.
Right.
Check it out, man.
Joe Ramdas.
Just Ramdas.
Just Ramdas.
Oh, you got the Joe and it's stuck in my
I
head.
put Joe there. Joe's in my head.
Aye, so he was quite important. And also something like people that are quite important in my journey as well is so my PA, I had a PA called Leanne. I still talk to her quite a lot.
Right. Big shout out to Leanne.
Yeah, I shout out to Leanne. So she kind of put me as well, really put me on a spiritual path because she's like a holistic therapist.
Right, okay.
And it was funny, like the timing. It was crazy how she came into my life just when I was getting into it, and then that's when it springboarded. And also now as well. So my other PA, Caris, who's also like one of my best pals. She's really opened my eyes and like guided me more onto that journey. So they've got, she runs something called Serenity Soul Lounge in Glasgow.
Right, okay.
It's like, what's the one? They do like meditations. They do loads of events like community building.
Right, okay.
Through spirituality.
Yep.
So she's really helped me as well. And I'm just glad like the people around me, like, I feel like all my friends are actually, we're on the same wavelength. And like I've got two friends up to Caris and Tariam, who I mentioned, and
Right.
like, yeah, they're like, they feel like family. I feel like they've always been a part of my life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're going to kind of end it on that. But I'm glad that how we're ending it because.
I'm just thinking,
This is
where's
spiritual.
the book deal? Like, you should, like, this is like
but
the guide to life. Yeah.
But, so you've come into our lives, and it's similar to you, Nadia. You've now come into something that you you didn't expect probably this morning. We're not letting you leave, but it was the same with you, Sanjeev. It's like we didn't expect this conversation to ever happen, like the way it did, right? And you've brought so much. So thank you for doing that.
No worries, man. I'm glad I could like just share my voice on platforms like this.
Yeah.
Like this is what helps me do my purpose when people see stuff like this.
Yep.
And I can do that. So yeah, thanks a lot, man.
No, thank you.
And thank you very much from a personal point of view, because this has been such an inspirational conversation, and I've got I feel like I'm taking away so much.
Thank you, man.
So
Well, you also got to say quintessential.
I did, yes.
Which
This is a pivotal moment in my
pivotal.
life. I said quintessential.
Quintessential. So thanks again for everybody's here, and thank you as well. If somebody has decided it wasn't on camera. Is it Donna? Dawn, sorry. There you go, there's a quintessential moment. I won't go back.
Can I just say a big thank you to Malachi for being absolutely amazing technical support?
Yes. Yes, the Green Room now have a new assistant. Malachi, so thank you. Big thumbs up for him. So thank you so much. If you're struggling and any of this has hit home to anything and you want to get in contact with Sanjeev, where can we find you actually?
So it's all platforms. Ask Superman. So
Ask Superman on Instagram.
ASK Superman with 2 N's.
Yep.
So Instagram's probably the best place
Yeah.
to get me. And then also my music is on Spotify. Superman On Da Beat.
Yep.
So it's Superman with 2 N's on DA and then beat, and you can hear loads of cool local hip hop. So check out that.
And don't worry, we'll have all this in the comments and the description of today's podcast. Thank you for being part of the Green Sunrise podcast. Have an excellent day, and Green Sunrise podcast loves you. Goodbye.
Yay.